Shellback. Oh, nope. Okay. We're gonna be chatting, yapping, if you will, about the books that I read in September and the books that I read in October. I will also be knitting while I do this because it helps me think, I guess. This is what I'm currently knitting. It is a sweater. It's a lot of different colors, but you know, that's fun, right? Right. The first book that I read in September was As Long as the Lemon Trees Go by, I'm gonna butcher this, but Zulfa Katow. This was, oh my gosh, initial thoughts. Heartbreaking, absolutely devastating. I sobbed during this book multiple times. Multiple times I sobbed. It is so tragic, but also like really beautiful at the same time. So a whole like wide mix of emotions, which I think I want in a book every once in a while, you know? You want to go on the roller coaster. Basically, we're following our main character. Her name is Salama, and she is living during the Syrian Revolution. She has witnessed a lot of horrific things. And these horrific things have sort of manifested into this being, or this piece of her imagination, I guess. His name is Khawf, Khawf. His name is Khawf. I'm pretty sure she describes him as like a devil figure. He is evil, he says very mean things about her. You know, he's this manifestation of just the evil in her life. So the book is really interesting because you have these moments where she's talking in the real world and interacting with people, and then you have these moments where she's interacting with Khawf, and Khawf often makes her hallucinate these really awful things. Salama is 18 years old. She's very young. She works as a surgeon at a hospital. She was originally a pharmacist, but unfortunately they are out of doctors. So she has had to become a surgeon to help the people in Syria. There are just awful, awful, horrific things that are described in this book to everyone, children, adults, all of the above. The only like refuge that Salama has in her life is Layla. Layla is her best friend, but she also married her brother. Layla is pregnant, so there's a bit of urgency in the situation. The situation being that Salama and Layla want to get out of Syria, but it is very hard to do that, and it's very expensive to do that. So they are, you know, kind of wagering what's best and figuring out what they can and need and want to do, right? That's the premise. And it is devastating and it is awful, and there is a twist at the end that I just fell apart. I think that is the first time a twist has ever gotten me like that, because I just did not see it coming, literally at all. Bawling, tears, tons, flood. It was awful. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. I couldn't recommend it enough. I'm pretty sure it's YA, which to me is kind of wild because some of the scenes described in this are intense. So I think definitely check your trigger warnings on this one before you go into it, because it is heavy, it is deep, but it was so good. So, so good. And there's an author's note at the end where she talks about how these events being based off of real people and real stories, that was just a whole nother level of heartbreak in itself. The next book I read in September was The Color Purple by Alice Walker. It was really good. I ended up giving it 3 stars just because like classics to me are hard right now. I want to like classics more and be able to read classics better. So that is why it is 3 stars, because it was a bit difficult for me to get through. Not only just the writing itself, but the story, the plot, and what these women in this story go through, and specifically Celia herself. Celia is a young Black girl who is growing up in America's Deep South. I'm pretty sure this is in between the wars, so it is segregation and all of that stuff going on. Celia has had a very, very tough upbringing. Tough is putting it lightly. She was R-worded by the person she calls her father, and ended up having 2 children with him, and those children were taken from her. After going through that trauma, this man basically married her off to a man who is not nice at all. She is frequently abused and, you know, treated like livestock rather than like a person. She has a sister, Nettie, who she is very, very close to, who she was separated from when this marriage took place. And it's not until later down the road she meets this very glamorous woman. She's a singer. Her name is Shug Avery. Shug is able to show her like real true friendship and how someone is supposed to be treated, and how you can take a hold of your own destiny, and how you don't have to put up with a bunch of really bad stuff happening in your life, and that it's maybe not acceptable. It's just beautiful story about friendship and the power of love and all of those really nice things. Oh, it is told in a series of letters. So Celia writes letters to God. You were told the story throughout these letters that she writes to God. Yeah, it was just really good. Very, very good story that I am so happy to have read and experienced. Next, I binge read this book. I read it in a day because I liked it so much. It was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I did not like The Dead Romantics. I don't know why. Maybe I need to give it another shot. I don't know, but I just didn't get hooked on it. I don't know. I just didn't like it, okay? I didn't like it. I had guessed pretty much the whole plot at the beginning, which I mean, I think you're kind of meant to do because she makes it pretty obvious. But it did not deter me from the story at all. I still was 100% in it. I was in it. In this book, we are following Clementine, and Clementine, she's given up on love, right? She's had a rough go about it, so she has just dedicated her life to work, and that's really all she does is work, work, work. Until one day, there is a man standing in the kitchen of her apartment. It is her grandmother's apartment, I believe, to be exact. And this apartment is no ordinary apartment. It is a time-traveling apartment. So, this man standing in her kitchen is actually from 7 years in the past. As you can imagine, they start to get to know each other and meet, and it's a very exciting thing when when Clementine comes home and her apartment has switched itself to 7 years in the past because she gets to see this man, right? It was so cute. I was eating it up the whole entire time. 4.5 stars, by the way, I gave it. It was just really good, and I was so excited to just keep reading it, obviously, because I read it in a whole day, and I like rarely ever do that. I don't know what it was about it, but just the characters felt very three-dimensional. They felt like you wanted to just jump into the book and be in the book with them and experience these things with them. It was just so dang cute. And you're just rooting for them. You're rooting for this love story the whole time. Even though I knew what was gonna happen, like I said, I still just ate it up. I'm definitely happy that I decided to give Ashley Poston another chance because it's so good. I have, a novel love story by her that I'm also excited to read, although I haven't heard the best reviews about it, but I'm trying not to let that deter me from reading it. The next book I read was Blood Orange by someone, I can't remember. I read it on my Kindle. I gave it 3 stars, which I'm now thinking is a little bit high, for being honest. This is a part of something called the Dracula Duets, and the next one I have yet to read, although it is downloaded on my Kindle because it's fun in a sense where it's like cheesy enough to like it, you know? Basically, we're following our main character. I don't remember her name, and for some reason it doesn't say on here. And our other main character is Dracula himself. We start off the story by following Dracula, and he is with a woman and he's in love with this woman, but her father has other thoughts and ends up killing her right on the spot. Or basically her dad finds out that they've been sneaking off together. He comes and finds them and he kills his daughter right on the spot. Dracula then kills all of them. Then we are introduced to our main character, who is set in present day. We're now in the present day timeline, right? But Dracula's a vampire, so he's still alive. Our main character is a vampire hunter. You can probably see where this is leading. Our female main character is ordered to hunt Dracula. But however, they end up falling in love. There it is. They end up falling in love. Did it give Twilight? No, but it gave off the same level of kind of like corny vampire spooky atmosphere that was really nice at the time, which I think is why I ended up giving it a 3-star, because it was by no means good. It was by no means good, and it was so spicy. It was super spicy. Yeah. Also check your trigger warnings with this one, because there is a whole disclaimer at the beginning of this book of just all of these things that you should be aware of are in this book. Yeah, that's really all there is to say about it. It was so cheesy that it was entertaining, if that makes sense. And the writing is pretty bad. There was no fall to anything. It was kind of just like rise, and then you get like a whoop, and then a woo, and then you're like way up high again. It was like something would happen to this main character, or something would shock her and surprise her, and you would get this like intense moment, and then all of a sudden, instead of like learning about how she feels about those things and how she's, you know, grappling with it, she's just like, okay, yep, that's just how this is now, which was weird. So that took me out of it a little bit while I was reading, but the just overall corniness, spooky atmosphere made up for it in a sense. So if you're looking for something of that nature, I would read it. And I will definitely be reading the next one just because, why not, right? The next book I read was Bridgerton Book 1, The Duke and I. I thought it was good. It was a nice little palette cleanser in between some of these really intense books about some really intense topics. I pretty much read this like throughout the whole month of September. I like the atmosphere, I like the vibes, I like the, what is it like, the time it's set in, I'm drawing a blank. I thought it was entertaining and fun and cute enough to continue reading and to continue the series as well. And I've seen the first and second season of Bridgerton on Netflix, and I liked it on there. And I think, weirdly enough, I think I like the show better. And I kind of imagined the characters as the characters from the show, just because I had seen that first before reading it, but I don't think it necessarily took away from the book. It was still a nice little snack read. This one, we are following Daphne Bridgerton and the Duke, I cannot remember his name, Simon. You know, this is all about high society, and you're trying to find the person that you're gonna marry and all of those things. And Daphne is definitely looking for love. She's not just looking for a husband, she's looking for someone that she loves. And Simon has sworn off love. He swears he will never marry anyone. He will never have kids, nothing like that. And that is because of Simon's childhood and the way he was raised. His father was very much so not present. Simon was born with a stutter, and that really disappointed Simon's father. So his father just kind of disowned him, and Simon promised himself to never marry and never have kids because he doesn't want anyone else to grow up in a situation like that. They developed this sort of love affair type situation because Daphne wants to become more desirable to the other men of this society, and Simon wants people off his back, basically. He wants people to stop asking about when he's gonna get married, when he's gonna do these things, whatever. So they form a little alliance, a little fake dating alliance. That's really the most that I'm going to say about it, because I don't want to spoil anything, because it was fun. And I will be reading the rest of the series. Next I read, now we're moving into October. That was everything that I had read in September. So now I'm moving on to October. The first book I read was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I gave this 3 stars. We are following. I talked about this a lot in one of the vlogs that I had posted last month, but basically we're following our main character. His name is Theo. Chapter 4 until I said his name. He is a psychotherapist, and he is very, very interested in this story of Alicia Berenson. Alicia Berenson killed her husband, basically pew-pewed him a bunch of times. No one knows why, because after the incident happened, she just went completely silent. Hasn't said a word, hasn't spoken to anyone, hasn't explained anything about what happened. For some reason, it was very weird to me, that Theo took a very large interest in her and was seemingly obsessed with her. When a position for psychotherapist opens up at the asylum that she is staying in, he jumps at the opportunity to take it. He kind of puts it upon himself to get Alicia to start talking again. You see Theo going to all of these people in Alicia's life to kind of get the inside scoop on who she is, why she might have done this, why she, you know, all of those things. So the beginning was like, okay, why are you so obsessed with Alicia? What's going on? The middle was just like, okay, this is getting a little bit boring and redundant. You going and talking to all these people when other people who probably know much more than you are telling you to not. So why do you keep doing it? And then the back half or the back third is like just really shitty plot twist. I say that because I didn't guess the extent of the plot twist exactly, but I definitely guessed the overarching theme of the plot twist. It was just, by the time that I was done reading it, I was just kind of left with like a empty feeling, but not like a good empty feeling after you finish a thriller. It's like an empty, like I just wasted my time reading this book. It's not to say that it wasn't good or entertaining, because it was. I gave it 3 stars, by the way, because of that, because I just had this kind of like the feeling at the end of it. You know, read at your own risk. If you're willing to maybe be disappointed, to maybe not be disappointed, then I'd say do it. But maybe that's really how it is to read any book. I don't know. At this point, it's almost nighttime. The sun is really, really gone down. So if the lighting is getting progressively worse, that is why. So I'm gonna kind of speed this up a little bit, if that's okay with you. Next, I read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This was a reread because the first time I had read it, don't know where it went, but it was not in my head. It did not go in my brain because I did not remember a single thing about it. Basically, I would call this, now I don't know which one came out first, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, or this one, but they are very similar, very, very similar. I did not like The Housemaid, and I did not like this one either. When I read it again, it was just boring. It was boring, it was predictable, it was the same thing over and over and over and over again. We are following Rowan, our main character, and she is interviewing to become a nanny for this seemingly very, very rich family. This house is sort of like a smart house. They have a lot of gadgets, a lot of really nice, pretty things, but that really doesn't even play into the story at all in a way that you want it to. It just didn't do that. You know how in the short story The Veldt by Ray Bradbury, the house being so technological plays a huge part in just the overall creepiness of the book. This, I feel like, was trying to do that, but it very much did not, which was sad. I ended up giving it 2 stars. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be at all. Next, I read The People Next Door by Toni Parsons. Similar vibe out of it. Maybe I'm just not a mystery thriller girl, I don't know, but it just did not hook me at all. I wasn't in it. I thought the writing was pretty bad, and the plot was just like really all over the place. You get this super weird twist about 3/4 of the way through the book where you're like, okay, that just ruined it. That just ruined this whole thing, because one, I was not expecting it, but it wasn't a good, I wasn't expecting it. It was like okay, that just made this whole thing even stupider. We're following this couple who, they move into this new neighborhood, and their neighbors are kind of weird. They have a lot of secrets. Basically the female main character, she is having a hard time settling into this community and really feeling safe and feeling okay there. And her husband is a doctor, and he's kind of just, he's not helping. He's basically just being like, can you try harder? Can you get over it? Can you blah, 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 blah. You basically see our main character's mental health decline very quickly in this environment. Then the people in her life start manipulating her when she's in this very vulnerable state. And there are so many good ways that this could have gone, but it just straight down. It was not what we thought. I literally want to give it 1 star instead of 2. So yeah. Next, I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This one was one of the few highlights of this month. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It was good. It was entertaining, but it was slightly boring, which kind of sucks. But I've heard that about this one, and I've actually heard that the second one is even better. And I believe that because of how this one left off. I believe that the second one could be more action-packed and more plot, really. This one was a lot of just magic building, world building, suspense up to this big thing that just never happens. So if that thing happens in the second book, I can imagine that that one is a lot better. We are following Elspeth Spindle, who lives in a world that is overrun by magic. There is a mist that takes over the town, basically, and if you're caught in the mist, you can, I'm pretty sure it's like go crazy almost, and you die, I'm assuming. Children can get this fever or this sickness when they're young, and this sickness gives them powers. The ruler of this kingdom, Blunder is the name of the kingdom, the ruler, he doesn't want to be challenged, right? So anyone with these magical abilities is... Elspeth is special because she did have this fever when she was young, but she, very luckily for her, came out of it with a power that is not obvious to anybody. So she's just sort of kept it to herself and to her close family members who knew that she was sick as a kid. They've kept the secret for her as well. There is another aspect of Elspeth's power which led her to, I'm not going to tell you how, but it led her to having this entity in her mind that she calls the Nightmare. He protects her, basically. He talks to her in these spooky little like poems almost, which is kind of cool, kind of a really cool aspect. He's a part of her mind, right? So she's constantly talking to him throughout the story, and the magic system is really cool because they use cards, tarot cards in a sense, and each card represents a different power, and if you own one of the cards, you can harness that power. However, there are consequences to using too much of it. So one of the cards has to do with, I forgot what it's called, but one of them has to do with like beauty. If you use it, it can make you just look so beautiful, right? But if you use it for too long, you lose pieces of your soul. You become this kind of soulless creature who just looks beautiful. You're just beautiful on the outside, you're nothing on the inside, right? So your actions kind of have consequences throughout this book, and like it was good, and there is a love story. It is technically romantasy, so there is like a romance aspect, but even that wasn't like fully explored to me. So it kind of fell short in that sense as well, which I'm hoping, if I read the second one, which I probably will eventually, I don't know when, but I'm hoping those things are kind of fleshed out. The whole magic, the whole romance plot, I'm hoping you get some more depth into those things. But yeah, 3.5 stars. I would say read it. It has a really nice gothic atmosphere and spooky vibe to it. So like, definitely read it if that's what you're into. The last book I read in October was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I liked it. I gave it 3 stars in the end, but I'm thinking I might bump it up to like 3.5 because, you know, it reads like a Hallmark movie. You get a warm feeling from it. The atmosphere is good. The plot is okay. The plot is very bumpy. It takes some really weird turns, but it also has some really nice, cozy things that happen. We're following our main character, Jeannie, and she inherits this cafe from her aunt. It's in a very Gilmore Girls-esque town. The author has come out to say that it's very much Gilmore Girls vibe and atmosphere. But she has inherited this cafe and she meets the local hot farmer. He has a past. He does. He's got a past, and she is trying to figure out whether she's okay with it or not. And he's trying to figure out if he can get over it or not. And that's about the extent of the plot. But it was good. It was cozy. It was cute. It was fun. It, like I said, very much gives off the Hallmark movie vibes, which I adore. I've always loved those movies. My mom and I are diehard Hallmark movie fans. But it is spicier. You know, Hallmark movies only allow for one kiss per movie. This is a spice. This is a spice. This is spicy. Okay? Don't be fooled. But yeah, good little time. You know, I wasn't mad about it at all. That's all. That's the books that I read. How many books is that in 2 months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 books in 2 months. That's pretty good for me. I have discovered audiobooks and reading along, following in my book while also listening to audiobooks. And I think that has helped me be able to kind of stay out of reading slumps if I'm reading a book that I'm not so interested in, because that really seems to be all I'm reading lately, is books that are just so close to hitting the mark and they just always fall flat, which is unfortunate. But some plans for next month that I can talk about are that I will be starting a new series kind of based off of that mindset, where I want to discover my favorite genre and figure out what books I really should gravitate towards, because I feel like I keep making wrong decisions. I'm not basing it off of the things that I actually like in books. So this new series is basically going to be, what kind of girly am I, right? What kind of book girly am I? I want to just go through the genres and rate them and put them to the test, put them against each other, and just find out which one I really like the best. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to be starting out with sci-fi, because I think it has a really big chance of being #1. I always rate sci-fi books so high. So I'm going to start off with a bang, see where it goes. I won't tell you what I'll be reading, because those will be, you just gotta watch the video. You gotta watch the video when it comes out. Yeah, that's it. Overall, kind of mediocre couple months. I made a little bit of progress on my sweater. I got a little bit more of this. I got 2 more rows. No. Yeah, I got 2 rows done in this video. That's pretty good. That's a win in itself. There she is, the big old stack. We'll see you next time. Bye.